Number two, if you have the niche in the domain name, as just mentioned, is it safe to optimize the URL for the inner city pages to contain the specific niche again? Like, for example, toplocalplumber.com/Dallas-plumber or toplocalplumber.com-Austin-plumber, or would repeating the niche be a Google red flag trigger? Yeah, I wouldn't do that, because you don't want to have the keyword repeat multiple times in the URL if you can help it. So why not just use the slug for the city name instead, right? You don't need to add that Dallas-plumber or Austin-plumber. If it's top local plumber, plumber's already been declared in the domain, right? So I would just use Dallas or Austin, set up the category the slugs that way, right? So the URL itself, right? The category might be Dallas plumber or Austin plumber, right? Or it might be categories or pages, but you can still optimize or edit the slug or the URL, the permalink for that category to remove the plumber, right? So the name of the slug, or excuse me, the page or the category in that case could still contain plumber, but I would edit the URL to make it shorter, more succinct, and omit plumber so that you're not repeating it again and again, because chances are you're going to end up having, especially if those are categories or top level pages, if you're going to be placing any posts underneath of that, right? Then you'd also probably end up repeating similar terms in that slug, right? For the post title or post permalink, for example, or if it's a child page, for example, depending on how you structured your silo, right? Whether it's a complex silo or a simple silo. So just remember, I always recommend trying to keep your URLs as short and succinct and to the point as possible. And you don't have to repeat a bunch of keywords. In fact, I recommend against it. Anybody else want to comment on that before moving on?
Yeah, I wanted to add something that you said that resonated really big with me. The fact that you don't need to treat, like, Google right now is intelligent enough. Like, for instance, I don't know, search for local plumber in your area or how to unplug a toilet, whatever that is. And there's a high chance that a website like BuzzFeed will come by, right? And the reality is that they come by not because of how, like, of course, when they're writing an article, when they're putting together an article on their website, they're aiming for it to rank on Google, right? That's why they will have keywords and LSI type of keywords on their headlines and on the comment and on the paragraphs and whatnot. But they're not as adamant as having it on, at every step of the article, like on the URL, on the first, on the headline, on the H2, H3, like bold, underline, italics, that type of stuff. I think that Google is like much more intelligent and right now that it can understand that if your website is about plumbing and you have schema about the area that you want to rank about, and then you mention it a couple of times on the text naturally, I think that you have a high chance of ranking for that keyword. And the reality is that people, as Bradley was saying, people will not be searching for plumber Virginia. Out of that query, there will be hundreds and thousands of potential, queries that people can come up with, right? And all you need to do is to go into Google Search Console and see all of the impressions that your website got based on the queries that you're ranking for. So there are millions of variations, So going after that and being more natural about the URL structure and more natural about how people, speak in the articles and whatnot, and then using all of the other stuff that Bradley and Marco were mentioning, like, schema on the website, and then maybe an RYS tag or whatever that is. I think that will help you rank. But Google is like, I think it's its machine learning is advanced enough so that it will understand the topic about your website without you having to expressly say it and put it in a way that's unnatural, even in the URLs, right? Because nobody will go in and type localplumber.com/Dallas/best plumber in Dallas, right? Nobody will type in that. Like, people will search for something and they might type in bestplumberingdallas.com or something like that. So I think that maybe we need to go back and relax ourselves a little bit in terms of, over optimizing the keywords over there. So
Yeah, I've made the comment that you don't have to get Google over the head anymore like you used to.
Yeah,
You know, in fact, if you do, you can trigger you can bring the quality score down for your page, or your ranking score, as Google, as Marco calls it, and it actually can hurt the entire site, not just the individual page.
yeah,
So.
and that's also provides a good point with it, which is like your site, like a page of your website can rank for hundreds of keywords, right? So you don't need to optimize a page for a keyword, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody will be typing in that exact keyword. Like maybe some people will, but most people will search like all over the place. So that same page, provided that your content is long enough, that you add enough, enough LSI, that you have schema and whatnot, will rank for hundreds of keywords, if not thousands. So have that in mind.
Yeah, the problem with having the keyword in the URL multiple times is that you usually end up over optimizing. That's where that's the entire problem. Now, as Hernan said, you can run into issues where people aren't really looking for the exact thing that you think the person is looking for. But the main issue here is that then on page, you have to be really careful about how you're going to write, how you're going to approach this, so that you don't keep saying plumber, or plumber city, plumber, plumber city, plumber city, like we used to do back in the day. That's how we used to optimize back in 2004, 2005. You just repeat it as many times as possible until Google ranked it. Get as many links as possible until Google ranked it. It was that simple. It's not that simple anymore because of the over optimization issue where you run into quality, right? Google will gauge user experience, and it'll gauge the quality of your page, and it'll weigh that against all others. Now, here's the caveat. If all others are doing it, then by all means, you have to do, and I think this runs into the next question, sorry. You need to check and see what the competition is doing, and how they're doing it, so that you can decide what it is that you need to do to top them.
Yeah.